Hi everyone, it's Miss Terry and I'm here today with my December picks for students in grades 5 and 6. We'll do some fiction books and then we'll do some graphic novels, and then I also have some nonfiction to share with you today. Just a reminder that there will be a short pause between each book because I'll be using these talks for my virtual library that I send to the students, but you're welcome to watch it from the beginning to the end. So let's go ahead and get started. This first book is called The Puppet's Payback and Other Chilling Tales by Mary Downing Hahn. I had a lot of requests for scary books last month, so I thought I'd start with this one because the cover alone is enough to keep you up at nights. And this is a collection of 10 short horror stories, some scarier than others, probably about a step up from Goosebumps. So if Goosebumps is kind of getting boring for you, you might be ready for a book like this. But the tale on the cover is about a puppet. It's about a young boy who's really struggling. He's getting bullied at school. His teacher is really kind of nasty. And one day he discovers an older man with this puppet, and for some reason he just feels like he has to have this puppet, and he asks the old man for him, and well, the puppet obliges and ends up on the boy's hand and he can't get him off. I'm not going to tell you what happens or how he maybe or maybe not gets rid of this puppet, but if you like spooky stories, you're going to enjoy The Puppet's Payback. This next one is called How to Disappear Completely, and this is a story about Emma, and Emma's best friend is really her grandmother. She really loves her a lot. They spend a lot of time together. They kind of have this magical place in the woods that they like to go to tell stories. Unfortunately, at the beginning of the story, you find out that Emma's grandma has passed away, and now Emma's kind of feeling lost. She retreats into the forest quite a bit where she writes in her journal. And that's when she first discovers a small spot between her toes, which leads her to find out that she has something called, I'm gonna have to read it so that I can get it right, vitiligo, which actually causes a loss of pigment in your skin in patches. Well, this does not help with bullies at school at all, and she's really kind of feeling lost. And one day when she goes into the forest to write in her journal, she discovers that somebody is writing her back, just like her grandmother used to do when she was there. And now Emma has decided that she's going to find out who is writing in her journal and maybe be able to stand up to the bullies and come to terms with what's happening to her body. That is How to Disappear Completely. Finn and the Intergalactic Lunchbox by Michael Buckley is an action-packed, laugh-out-loud story about a boy named Finn who's found this kind of old-fashioned metal lunchbox, and when he opens it, things start to come out of it, including a 7-foot-tall robot. It also had this metal box that flew out of it and attached to Finn's chest. He doesn't really know what's going on with that. And then it also is opens up wormholes so he can go to anywhere in the galaxy. Well, this kind of freaks him out, and it kind of attracts the attention of these giant alien bug-like creatures called the Plague, who really want the box attached to his chest because it turns out it's the most dangerous weapon in the universe. And Finn is determined to find out what he should do. He has these four, not going to say friends, but kind of this 4-team crewmate, which includes the school's biggest bully named Lincoln, the coolest girl named Julep, his little sister who's obsessed with unicorns, and High Beam, which is the name of the robot, and they're going to help Finn defeat the Plague and use the lunchbox to the best of his ability. Action-packed and again, very funny. That's Finn and the Intergalactic Lunchbox. This next one is part of a new series called Legends of Olympus. This one is called The Eye of Zeus. It's about a girl named Phoebe Katz who actually is a foster child, and she's kind of been shuttled around from home to home to home, always feeling out of place, not really sure where she belongs, when one day she's on a field trip and a statue of Athena comes to life and informs her she's actually the daughter of Zeus, and she was sent away from Olympus because of a prophecy that said she would destroy Olympus and Zeus and all of the gods. Well, when the evil god Ares ends up kidnapping Phoebe's favorite social worker, Phoebe is determined that she's going to find out get her social worker back and find out more about her family. And then while she travels to Olympus to save the social worker, she discovers she has a twin brother named Perseus, and she also discovers a new prophecy that might allow her to come home and live with her real family. Unfortunately, in order to do that, she has to get a talisman from 6 Greek monsters. For example, the Fang from the 9-headed Hydra you can see on the cover. My guess us is the series is going to have each one of the Greek monsters that Phoebe has to get a talesman from. So if you really kind of like those epic sagas, this is going to be book 1 in the series. If you like things like The Lightning Thief, this also would be a good choice for you. It's called The Eye of Zeus. The Incredibly Dead Pets of Rex Dexter is a little bit on the creepy side, also on a little bit of the silly side. This is by Aaron Reynolds, and this is about a boy named Rex Dexter, and he desperately wants a pet. In fact, what he really wants is a brown Labrador dog. Well, he doesn't have a really good track record with keeping pets alive, so I don't think his parents are ready to jump on the dog bandwagon. So they end up getting him a chicken. And unfortunately, the chicken only lasts about an hour and 15 minutes before it gets accidentally steamrolled. The weird thing is it comes back to life and starts haunting Rex Dexter. And next thing you know, there's a whole bunch of other animals that have mysteriously died from the neighboring zoo that are haunting him and coming into his bedroom, causing quite a ruckus. And Rex decides that the only way to get rid of them is to find out what's happening at the zoo and why these animals are dying. There is a surprise twist at the ending that you might think you know what's coming, but you might just turn out to be wrong. So that is The Incredibly Dead Pets of Rex Dexter. Moving on to another scary one. This one is called Camp Murder Face. You can kind of see hands coming out of the water. Ooh, and this is about 2 teens, Corin and Tez. And Corin is kind of anxious to come to camp. It's actually called Camp Sweetwater. It's been actually closed for 3 decades, and Corin's family is kind of falling apart. Her parents are about to break up, so she's anxious to get away from all that reality and come to camp and have a good summer. And Tez he has a lot of health issues, so his parents don't usually allow him to do anything exciting, and he just wants to be a normal kid, and he convinces them to please let me come to this camp. Well, it doesn't take long before strange things start happening, like screaming faces in the fire, and a murderous shower curtain, and definitely the swimming part is a little bit on the creepy side. Well, it turns out that Corin and Tez are really the only ones that can kind of see what is happening there. And it turns out that Camp Sweetwater has quite a reputation, and it kind of goes in and out of business about every 20 years or so. So now they're trying to solve the mystery of what had happened when Camp Sweetwater first opened up, and unfortunately people start disappearing and things get scarier and scarier. It is very fast paced. The scares kind of get bigger and bigger as the story goes along. This is definitely on the scary side, so you might want to read it with the lights on. Camp Murder Face. The Summer We Found the Baby is the story of Belle Beach, Long Island, and several kids there. It's told from 3 different points of view. Julie Sweet is one of the main characters, and her younger sister, Martha, and then there's also Bruno, Ben, Eli, and the 3 of them. So what happens is that the Long Island gets a new library. So Julie Sweet had made a cake to bring to the library opening, and when her and her younger sister Martha get there kind of early before anybody else is there, they discover a baby in a basket on the steps of the library. Well, Julie Sweet she just in a moment, a rash decision, decides to take the baby. She doesn't realize that an envelope with instructions kind of fell out of the basket as she's racing away with the child and her sister Martha. But Bruno did see the envelope, and he's decided to follow Julie Sweet and discover what has happened. Now, Bruno is supposed to be on his way to New York City in order to do an errand for his brother, who is a soldier in World War II. So this is an historical fiction book. If you like a little bit of mystery and if you like just a sweet story, this is called The Summer We Found the Baby. Sticks and Stones is a middle school novel about a girl named Elise, and Elise has a very strange condition. Whatever people say about her, whatever words they use, they appear on her skin temporarily, almost like tattoos, until the power of them kind of fades away. Now, at first when she was a baby, and they'd say things like, "Oh, sweet baby," and the word sweet would appear somewhere on her body, or beautiful, and the word beautiful. But as she gets older, people are starting to be a little bit meaner, and they don't always say the nicest things. So her parents have kind of tried to protect her by keeping her home, but they've decided that it's time that she's going to have to figure out how to be in the world with this condition, and they decide to send her to middle school, which they send her to middle school because we all know that kids can sometimes be rather cruel. But she decides that she's going to be brave and she's going to give it a try. Things don't go so well at first, and people, like I said, can be very cruel. But she ends up getting a mysterious note from somebody that says, "I want to help." And now she's trying to solve the mystery of who's sending her these notes and how to be brave and strong despite what people might say about her. This is by Abby Cooper. She always has great premises for her books. So if you enjoy this one, she has a couple others as well. This next one is a good old-fashioned fairy tale. This one is called The Girl Who Speaks Bear, and this is by Sophie Anderson. And this is about a girl named Yanka who was discovered outside a bear cave in the snowy forest. And she gets taken in by a lovely woman who lives in a village near the snow forest, and she's kind of being raised there. She's she's a very strong girl. Like, she seems like she has bear inside of her. And she's doing really well, but during a festival, she ends up falling asleep at the end of the festival. And when she wakes up, she has bare legs. And she kind of runs into the forest to kind of see if she can solve the mystery of what is happening to her. And she discovers that she's starting to be able to hear what animals are saying when they are chittering and making noises. So if you like animal powers, you definitely would enjoy this. If you like kind of the old-fashioned fairy tales with I think she's called Baba Yaga, who's kind of that scary witch that lives in the forest. She also makes an appearance in this story. So this is called The Girl Who Speaks Bear. And then the last fiction one I have for you is a new choose your own adventure. This one is called Could You Survive the Cretaceous Period? So if you're dinosaur crazy, you probably will enjoy this. You can make your choice. You can decide what era of the Cretaceous period you'd like. You can start in the jungle. You can start in a flowery field. You can also start on the coastline of the sea. This is a choose your own adventure, which means that you read for a little bit and then it asks you to make a decision, and then that's what page you turn to. So there's a whole bunch of different endings to these stories, and some endings you might end up getting eaten by a dinosaur. So this is Can You Survive the Cretaceous Period? Okay, so those are the fiction stories. Now I'm going to talk about not nonfiction, our graphic novels. And these are actually all fiction today as well. So this first one is called Stepping Stones. This is definitely a good read alike if you like graphic novels like Smile and Guts. And this is about a girl named Jen. And Jen's parents are divorced, and her mom has a new boyfriend named Walter, and mom has decided to move in with him. And Jen is actually from the city, but Walter lives on a farm in the country, and he also has two daughters himself, and one is Jen, Andy. And Andy is kind of like that perfect, great, now this is going to be my new sister, the perfect one, and I can do nothing right compared to her. So this is kind of a story of what it's like to readjust and kind of change your life and move to something new and try to adjust to being a part of a new family. Again, this is a graphic novel. Student Ambassador, The Missing Dragon. This is a story about a young boy named Joseph who wants to be an ambassador. He'd like to travel the world, and he wins a photo opportunity with the President of the United States. Very exciting, but he doesn't realize that the president actually needs him to go on a mission. There is a new king, King Nang Nukatu III, who is child, and yet his dad has passed away, and he's now he's really this little dictator of a country. And the president asks Joseph to go and help this dictator, this young king, try to stop an international incident that he's unwittingly gotten involved in. This is definitely kind of a silly book, but a lot of fun, a lot of action-packed adventure, and it does include an army of snow monkeys. So this is called Student Ambassador. This next one is called Lois Lane and the Friendship Challenge by Brittany Williams, and this is a story about Lois Lane, who likes to be a detective. She considers herself the greatest detective in her town, and she also is really interested in becoming a viral video star. And her plan is at the neighborhood barbecue to do #friendship challenge and win. Unfortunately, her friend Kirsten is not so interested in it and is kind of annoyed with Lois for pushing. And when it turns out that the neighborhood picnic fireworks are missing, and Lois decides that this is her opportunity to solve a mystery as well as maybe go viral. Donut the Destroyer by Sarah Grayley and Steph Purnins, I'm going to say. This is about a girl named Donut, first name Donut, middle name The, last name Destroyer, and she has just been accepted to the Lionheart School for Heroes. Unfortunately, her parents are villains. They're very evil villains, and her best friend Ivy is also a villain, and they don't understand why Donut is interested in being a hero. But Donut is determined to find her own destiny, even when Ivy comes up with a plot to make sure she gets kicked out of the school. It's called Donut the Destroyer. Beetle in the Hollow Bones is a good fantasy graphic novel. It's about a goblin witch named Beetle who's kind of struggling to find her place, which is a very common theme in children, in young adult literature. But she has a best friend named Blob Ghost who's kind of stuck haunting the mall forever and ever. And her ex-best friend Cat is kind of this, beautiful, cool, great at magic, kind of famous online, has just become an apprentice to her aunt. But Beetle discovers that her aunt actually has some pretty nefarious plots in mind, and she doesn't think that Cat should get involved in that. So Beetle at some point is going to have to determine what she's going to do and whether or not she's going to accept the magic inside of her. Beetle and the Hollow Bones. And then this next one is a graphic novel version of an old favorite. This is a graphic novel version of The Witches by Roald Dahl. I don't know if you've read the book or seen the movie. It's actually a very creepy story, but it's about a young boy, and he and his grandma are on vacation when he discovers that the hotel that they're staying in has become overrun with a witches convention. And these witches are very, very evil, and they're coming up with a plot and have decided to turn all of the children in the world into mice. And they're going to do that by selling them candy with poison in it that will turn them into a mice. And as you can see on the cover, the witch is actually quite beautiful, but that is just a disguise. Underneath all of that, she is very, very ugly. Very, very ugly. If you've read the original book, they are very creepy. And actually, the original movie is very creepy. But I also brought this out because there is a new movie, I can't remember what channel it's on, I'm sorry, but of the witches. So something to look forward to if you enjoy this story. So those are the graphic novels. Next, we have some nonfiction. This first one is called A Step-by-Step Draw 3D, and this one gives you a lot of different exercises that you can do to learn how to draw in 3D. So if you enjoy drawing, if you're looking for something to do over the holidays, and you'd like to do some art, this is Step-by-Step Draw 3D. This next one is called It's Alive, From Neurons and Narwhals to the Fungus Among Us. And this is all about it's just all about different facts about animals and people, things that you're just like, what? I've never even heard of that before. If you just like kind of those trivial type of books and about weird things in our world, this is definitely a good choice for you. So I'm just going to give you, all right. Not Playing by the Rules. This is 21 female athletes who change sports. Each page is a different athlete, women's athlete, and it talks about some of the things that they had to do in order to overcome the obstacles that they faced in their sport. For a long time, women were not allowed to play a lot of these sports like golf and soccer and tennis and swimming. Oh my goodness, the first women's athlete who was a swimmer talks about her in here. So this talks about how they stood up to those ridiculous rules that women can't do sports. So if you like girl power books, this is definitely a good choice for you. If you're an athlete, this is also a good choice for you. Speaking of sports, this next one is called The Ultimate Book of Dangerous Sports and Activities. There are definitely some weird things in here that I didn't even know were sports, like things like camel wrestling. I did not know that people wrestled camels, and I would imagine that it would be very dangerous. There's also something called creeking, which is kayaking down waterfalls on rivers with very little water. Noodling, which is sticking your hand in a catfish's mouth, which is probably something that could be done around here. Not that I would recommend going off and doing that. Make sure that you always observe all the safety precautions. But if you like reading about weird sports, this talks about where these sports take place, who are the best in the stats, and just has a lot of really fun information about some unique sports. This next one is called The Big Book of Roblox. This is a new one. Each chapter talks about a different aspect of Roblox, but it really focuses a lot on how to build your own games in Roblox, how to make money building your own games, how to important avatars that you should know, popular games that are trending now. But again, like I said, a lot of it focuses on how to make your own games and then possibly how to turn that into a little bit of a business for you. So that's the Big Book of Roblox. Always make sure you ask your parents' permission before you go online. This next one is called Animal Showdown 2, Surprising Animal Matchups. And this is a book that looks at two animals, kind of compares them, talks about what they're good at, what they're not good at, and then kind of decides which animal would win if they were in a fight. So you can see on the cover, there's an alligator and the shark. I was going to show you this one page. This is the sneakiest. Which animal is the sneakiest? This is the orchid mantis. Looks so much like a flower. And then on this side, we have the leaf-tailed gecko. So it kind of talks about it, and then the next page shows the two, and then it will also give you the verdict and it tells you how they determine which would be the winner. Lots of really good information. And of course, National Geographic Kids always has beautiful, beautiful photography. And then this last nonfiction I'm going to talk about today is called The Dog Patrol. You are a dog lover, you will love this book. It's called Our Canine Companions and the Kids Who Protect Them. So not only does this talk about what it means to own a dog, what kind of things you need to do to keep your dog healthy, happy, safe, how to be a good dog owner, it also talks about kids around the world who are doing amazing things to make sure that our canine companions stay safe. It also talks a little bit about dog shelters and what kind of things you should look for if you end up having to bring a dog to a shelter. And it just has a lot of really great information about dogs. So if you are a dog lover, you're definitely going to love this. But if you're also one of those people who's hoping to make change in the world, you probably would enjoy this as well. Hope you enjoyed these selections for December. Again, if you want to put any of them on hold, you can put them on hold by clicking on the bookmark in the virtual library, or you can click on the Please Deliver to My School, Miss Terry. And if you write your name, what books you're interested in on the form that pops up, I will make sure that the books get to your school and to you. Have a great day.